Welcome to the Coach Chris Oliver Show. I'm Chris Wells. Coach will join me in just a few minutes. This week we'll take a look back at the Blue Raiders' 55-21 win over Thomas More in the Blue Raiders' first ever trip north to take on Thomas More. We will also preview the matchup with Pikeville, which is coming up this Saturday at Pikeville. It's a 5 p.m. Central Time kickoff. We'll go on the air at 4:15 with our pregame show. If you can't make it to Pikeville, at the Hamley Athletic Complex, you can listen to it live right here on the Lindsey Wilson Sports Network, beginning at 4:15 with our pregame show. Our student athlete spotlight this week is with H.T. Fountain. He's the long snapper on this Lindsey Wilson football team. Terrific young man. Looking forward to visiting with him. We're going to step away for a minute. When we come back, Coach will join us. This is the Coach Chris Oliver Show on the Lindsey Wilson Sports Network. Welcome back to the Coach Chris Oliver Show. Coach joins me now. And Coach, let me preface this by saying, I know we won 55-21. I know that we did some really good things throughout the game. We always do. Maybe it's the last two games of how we executed so well against Cumberland or against Bethel and Cumberland that puts this in my mind. I didn't feel like we played our best game on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think we were a little disappointed in some of our execution. I know when we left the field, immediately I felt like the offense throughout the third quarter, somewhat the fourth quarter, there were a couple of turnovers. We didn't have the ball a whole lot, but it felt like we didn't come out of the locker room just with that focus and intensity that we had to start the game and had in the previous two games coming out of halftime. Just felt like that wasn't there. And I think after watching the video, I think our defensive staff felt a little bit of the same way for some of the first half and just some of our execution on that. So, we're very excited that we went 1-0 and that we took care of business and ended up, in a game that, I hate to say it was never in question, because I definitely felt like when it was a 13-point game there is the second half was moving on. I was certainly concerned about just our mindset, but we made it so that it was kind of a dominating win. But I don't think we played our best game, and in some ways that's still exciting because we're still chasing, getting better as a football team.
Saying all that, these are, when I was looking at the stats, thinking what I was thinking, I was like, man, that's being a little critical of the team. 5 of the first 6 possessions for the offense in the first half were touchdowns. The last 7, no touchdowns allowed by the defense in the second half. The last 7 drives by Thomas More was a turnover on downs, punt, interception, punt. So, as I mentioned, there were some pretty good things as well. Yeah,
there were a ton of positives, and we're at a point in our program where we just don't go only on results based. We talk about the process, we talk about what goes into winning and all those things, and believe me, we didn't walk away there from Saturday upset. Could we have played better? Yeah, we could have. Could we have been more consistent? Yes, we could have. Were there a lot of positives? Absolutely. I thought our kids handled fall break very well. Fall break, you would think you got all this time to work on football and all that. Well, in reality, with college kids, fall break is probably more of a distraction, especially when we have a full week without classes. Free time, we're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
We like routine, stay busy, you know exactly what you're doing throughout the course of the day. Sometimes fall break, we don't play terribly well. We go and we travel a few hours away. We go to a spot where we're traveling for the first time. Team we're playing for the first time. I thought there were a lot of positives throughout the week, throughout the preparation, throughout how we played on Saturday with a lot of the plays. But consistency wasn't where we wanted it to be.
I want to start with the start of the game. Defense, you win the coin toss, you defer. Defense holds after a couple first downs. First play from scrimmage for the offense is an 88-yard touchdown. Dukes to Joshua Lewis. Talk about the mindset of making that big play, and maybe do you believe as a coach, do you believe in setting the tone of a game with a play like that?
Well, it's certainly great when it happens, but we're going out and we're trying to make a positive play, and sometimes that's a 4 or 5 yard run, sometimes that's a quick down and out to the sideline. Sometimes we call something like that it could go to be a deep shot. The thing that it's easy to lose sight of is there's 3 other receivers in that concept, that if that route weren't open in the way that it was, that our quarterback could go and throw the ball to someone else, we hope, certainly. So when we get those opportunities, it's great. We felt like there was an energy in pregame warm-up. Not a bad thing, but it just kind of felt like a hostile environment. It was homecoming, and our opponent, they were fired up. I mean, they were fired up to to get the chance to play us, and that's fun. It's fun to go into those types of situations, and our guys have to get used to that and be more consistent with that. And I'm not saying we weren't excited, but sometimes we fall into a little bit of that talk and that debate team stuff we talked about with our guys a little bit. And I think that's a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds in college football. I turn on games, whether it's games we're scouting, whether it's games on TV, and it's easy to fall into that trap as a young person. You get the high emotions and the energy going. But we knew we were going to get a fired-up team to play us. And there were just some things there that happened in pregame, some things that happened right before kickoff where we knew we were getting a team that was going to be rock and rolling, ready to go. So for us to get a stop on the first drive and then come back with that big first play, you talk about just taking the wind out of your opponent's sails, and I think that certainly did that, and we continued to go on and make a lot of plays there in the first half.
Yeah, right after the big touchdown, the next drive, Stevie Miller with a big hit forces the fumble and then goes back in with 14, I think. And you said in the pregame, we really need to get off to a good start, and boy, that you couldn't ask for a better start than that 14-0 sprint right out of the gate.
Yeah, I thought we put them in a really tough spot mentally, and you go all the way through, and they score to make it 28 to 14 or 27-14, and then we get the ball back right there, and we're able to go down and get that touchdown right before half, and that was a tough one to come back from. And I give them credit. They didn't roll over. They kept fighting, and the point where we go out of halftime, we come through the third quarter, it's still a football game. Yeah. Those are tough things to battle mentally, some of those ebbs and flows, and our opponent, those kids played hard.
55-21, Lindsey Wilson wins on Saturday. They improve to 7-0 on the season, move up in the poll one spot to number 8 this week. We're going to step away for a minute. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the Lindsey Wilson-Thomas More game with Coach Oliver. This is the Coach Chris Oliver Show on the Lindsey Wilson Sports Network. Welcome back to the Coach Chris Oliver Show. Coach mentioned in the story after the game that all three facets of the game, offense, defense, special teams, all scored, which is obviously huge. And you expect your offense to score. Yeah. Talk about what that sideline is like when your defense and your special teams puts points up on the board. What's the energy? I got to think that it's really, really high.
Yeah, I mean, just the momentum swings of those situations. And obviously, there's no more important stat in this game than turnovers, with the exception of points scored and points allowed. I mean, turnovers, that's key. So when you can do both of those things on one play, like we've been fortunate to do multiple times the past 4 weeks on defense, when you can get a turnover and then immediately put that ball in the end zone and score that football with your defense, I mean, it's tough to say how huge that is in a game. I mean, it's just a momentum swing of immense proportions. And you look at the kickoff return for us, obviously anytime it's a kickoff return, it's following an opponent's score or potentially the first kickoff of the game or the second half. In this case, it was following an opponent's score. They come out and we don't play a coverage real well. We give up a pass over the top, and all of a sudden it's 14-7, and they're sitting over there with a little bit of positive momentum, a little bit of confidence, saying, hey, we're playing the number 9 team in the country. We can hang with these guys and all that, and those things are accurate. And then we come out and we score the next play. I mean, you talk about just something, again, taking the wind out of their sails, and it's a huge thing. Our kickoff return team has been outstanding this year, but we've been this close all year to breaking that big one, and we continue to work on it, we continue to buy into our technique and what we ask our kids to do, and our kids work hard on special teams. It's good to see that aspect of it pay off.
Talk about the defensive side of it when you come off the field and you've just given up points, whether it be a field goal, whatever, and then that special teams kickoff return or touchdown, and you get sent right back out there. Is that a good thing, getting back up on top of the horse and starting all over, or is it? I know it's not a bad thing. You always want to put points on the board, but I just wonder the mentality of a defensive player once that happens.
Well, I think they feel good about it as a team and with what happens, but there is that odd aspect, whether it's in this case kickoff return or whether it's a defensive score, and then immediately you go right back out there. I think you're always excited to play. For us as coaches, you get concerned about, man, that could be 6 plays consecutively turning into 12, 13,
Right.
14, 15.
Right.
So even though it's great to score and great to get that quick thing, and sometimes that happens on offense. If we get a quick score, the defense is right back out there. Everyone's excited that happened. But you do worry about sometimes your defense getting in those long situations. That being said, we want the quick scores as much as possible, whether it's defense, special teams, or offense. And any of those things, we want to play great team football, and our defensive guys, defensive coaches are excited that we scored in whatever capacity it is, and we want to get back out there and go again.
This is maybe a weird question, but guy intercepts the football. I mean, obviously it's the offensive's job to try to put points on the board, but how much teaching goes involved during the week after a pick, blocking, getting set up, getting the return as far down the field? How much practice goes into that each week?
Oh, there's a lot of teaching that goes into that. We have a very specific set of things that we want our guys to do after a turnover, where we want to try and take the football, who we want to get blocked afterwards. We want to find the nearest ball carrier. We want to find certain guys on their team. And then you have to be smart, because then you have the other one of, you see it so often, guys want to go head hunting for that quarterback. Well, officials are going to look for that and protect those quarterbacks, rightfully so. Officials are going to look for those blocks behind the play, or those blindside type blocks that are now illegal in our game, and again, rightfully so. So there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that can happen for the negative after a turnover. And then, we have to coach up our sideline too, because you see so many sideline penalties in those situations. A blocked field goal, a quick change of possession, a big play, or a special teams play where all of a sudden that field is reversing quickly, and you have an official who is 20 yards up the sideline trying to cover down the field this way is now turning and running back this way, and we have a sideline that's going crazy and starting to crowd the field.
Sure.
How many times do you see a sideline warning after those situations? So actually, I think it's a great question. It's one of the things that a lot of people who aren't around football programs never even thinking about those things, but there's a lot of things that go on in those types of situations, and you have to coach it.
We talk about each week first down efficiency, third down efficiency. Third down numbers were outstanding this week. You're over 50%, 6 of 11 on third down opportunities. The fact you only had 11 third downs speaks volumes of how well the offense played, in my opinion. Thomas More was 4 of 14. The defense did a good job of getting off the field. Those numbers have, I guess, got to be pleasing to your coaching staff.
Yeah, you're very excited about those types of situations, and we forced them into multiple punts. It seemed like we didn't get a lot of chances to set up punt return. We played kind of our safe defense because there were so many fourth and shorts to fourth and mediums at midfield. But our defense did a great job on third down, and again, played pretty well on first down. I think there were some running lanes where we didn't fill quite as well as we wanted to, and I think we'd tell you that was a little bit of a disappointing aspect, but we did keep them behind the chains a number of times, and I think we could have run the ball better on offense as well. But again, we made a lot of positive plays and still put ourselves in great third down situations on offense and defense, and you see that play out on the stat sheet.
55-21, Lindsey Wilson victorious on Saturday over Thomas More. Pikeville coming up this week. Coach Oliver's going to step out for a few minutes. We're going to have a student-athlete spotlight with H.T. Fountain. When Coach Oliver comes back, we'll talk about Pikeville. We're going to step away for 1 minute. We'll bring in H.T. Fountain on our student-athlete spotlight. This is the Coach Chris Oliver Show on the Lindsey Wilson Sports Network. Welcome back to the Coach Chris Oliver Show. Our student-athlete spotlight is with H.T. Fountain, long snapper on this Lindsey Wilson football team.
Yes, sir.
H.T., let's start out first. Do you consider yourself an honorary member or a full member of the kick squad?
It's tough. That's a tough question because, when I came here, I was a defensive lineman.
Right.
And last year was my first full year of kick squad.
Okay.
So, I would consider myself a full member, but I don't know if everybody else would consider me a full member. I still hang out a lot with D-line. I still love my kick squad too, though.
Sure. Do you guys have secret meetings that you have to attend? Seems like it's a pretty tight-knit group.
Yes, sir, it is. We don't really have specific meetings or anything. We definitely have our own little things here and there. This past week, it was pretty funny. This past week, they split the offense and defense up in the away locker rooms, And then the specialists, they got their own locker room too, so that was pretty funny. We got our own showers and stuff. We didn't really tell many people about it.
The funny thing is he's talking about at Thomas More, where Lindsey Wilson won, obviously, this past weekend. But on the door, they had the signs, offense, defense, special, and then in parentheses it said athletes.
Athletes only.
Yeah. So talk a little bit. It's kind of I chuckle a little bit, but it's kind of neat that you guys call yourselves, and Coach Oliver during the food, he'll go athletes, and you guys get up and go to the chow line, right?
Yes, sir. It is funny. Coach O, I don't know where exactly they got the athletes from, but from my understanding, it's Coach O, because I think it's on Thursdays we'll have we have to go down there and snap the balls to the quarterbacks, and then we'll also catch them from the receivers and give them back to them. And Coach will call for the athletes, and then when we eat, like you said, he calls athletes and stuff, so that's pretty funny.
So you came as you mentioned, a defensive lineman, and you made the choice to go as the long snapper. How difficult was that choice? What went into making that choice for you?
Well, it was definitely a tough choice, because as a D lineman, this could be a biased opinion, but I think D linemen are one of the closest groups on the team. And I definitely grew a lot with a lot of those people here. And so I think it was after camp, my junior year after camp, Coach O came up to me and he asked me if I wanted to, be a full-time long snapper, because he thought I could earn the job. And I talked to my dad and a couple people that I really trust, and they told me that I should give it a go. And so I gave it a go, and I ain't had any regrets. I've enjoyed it.
Talk about what goes in the process of preparing. Obviously, there's practice involved and stuff, but talk a little bit. Tell the folks out there what it means to be the long snapper.
Well, it's pretty much, not a lot of people recognize you until you make a mistake.
That's exactly right.
You don't really get your name called unless something either really great goes or really bad happens. But, you have to definitely, be on your P's and Q's, and definitely, warm up the right way and always be ready on the sideline. Like with our offense, I know this last week, I normally warm up, if we get past the 50, I'll warm up on field goals. And if we're on the other side of the 50, I'll warm up punts. And I didn't even get to warm up for the first field goal because we scored them the first play. So you just never know with this offense. But it definitely, takes a lot of preparation, really.
When you're in punt, you snap the ball. What's the mentality? What do you want to do? What's going through H.T. Fountain's mind as soon as he lets the ball go?
Well, with me, I like action, so I like to run down the field, and I like to try to run down there and find somebody to hit. Not a lot of people get to return on us. This past week we got one, didn't go our way, but my mentality is I want to run down there, and I hope they don't fair catch it. I hope I get to hit somebody. That's my mentality.
Let's talk about off the field for a moment. I know on your bio sheet you mentioned that you like hunting, fishing. Coach Oliver kind of described, he's just a good old country boy. So, what is there anything else that you like to do, or what do you like? You're close to you're from Southern Alabama, so you're close to the Gulf, and do you go out and golf any and fish, or is it local there for you?
Well, for me, we got a hunting camp close to my home, and I go there in the wintertime. I go there and hunt a lot, and I got friends that I hunt with, and we'll go out to the beach, and I like to go to the beach, and then I'll fish a lot. But here lately, me and Cam Dukes, quarterback, he has an uncle that lives about 20 minutes down the road.
Okay.
And on some like Thursday afternoons, we'll go out there and we'll get some good country food, and we'll ride around on the four-wheelers, and we'll shoot some guns and stuff. It's pretty fun.
Okay, what's country food? What explain that to? What's in your mind good country food?
You got some good fried pork chops, mashed potatoes and gravy. You got some green beans, collard greens. You got pulled pork, all that good stuff, all that good cooking.
All right. Talk a little bit about camp this year. What is something fun that you guys did during camp to kind of break the monotony of a 2-practice day, or film session, or going through the playbook, everything in practice? What do you guys do for fun?
Well, I know for camp, one thing we had probably, it seemed like about 30 players. One time we broke camp, I can't remember what day it was, but we all went out to the lake, and there's a little place you can hike up to. It's probably about half a mile, and then we all went up there and just had a good time. One of the players brought a speaker, and we all just kind of had a good time and took our mind off football for a little bit and just swam in the lake, and it was real fun.
You're running out on the field, and we'll let you get out of here with this. You're running out on the field, whether it be for a PAT or field goal, punt, whatever. Who's in charge? Are you in charge? Is the holder in charge? Is the punter in charge? Is it the shield? Who's in charge at any point in time?
Well, for punt, I'll call out for everybody to huddle up, and then Clay loves to make sure everybody's in line and make sure everybody is not talking on no bull crap. We'll go in there sometimes and we'll just all start joking or something, and Clay will try to get it straight. But on field goal, everybody's got to line up off of me. But, in the end, we like to make sure that Doherty's the happy one, He's the one kicking it, so we got to make sure he's the happy one.
So I'm hearing you saying that you're the center of attention. When you're the one who has the ball, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
HT, thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir, no problem.
Step away for a minute. We'll be back with Coach. This is the Coach Chris Oliver Show on the Lindsey Wilson Sports Network. Coach rejoins me now here on the Coach Chris Oliver Show, and HT Fountain long snappers, they're kind of, you smile, I love that. They're kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit because you really don't say their name unless it's a bad snap or it's something along those lines. It's a thankless job sometimes.
It is. You don't get recognized again unless it's negative a lot of times. And, HT's done a great job for us. And, he came in, we talked with Jared Doherty. Jared Doherty was a linebacker in high school in addition to a kicker. He's not just always a specialist. HT's the same. HT played on the defensive line, came in as a defensive lineman and a snapper, and got to a point where it was evident that his best chance to play and to help our team was primarily as a long snapper first, and he made a selfless decision to kind of give up that other aspect of his career. And but he's a guy that is a lot of fun. He's a leader. Kids look up to him. Good old boy with the accent from Southern Alabama, and we're just fired up that he's a part of our program.
Lindsey Wilson, 55-21 winners over Thomas More each week. Coach Oliver and his staff goes through our players of the week and big plays. Let's go through that list now, Coach.
Yep, our defensive players of the game were JT Lyon and CJ Dickerson. On offense, we had Scotty Krantz. Scotty played a great game. There's so much that goes on at tight ends that you don't recognize as well. And then Josh Lewis and Cameron Dukes. Those guys played outstanding. Our special teams, we gave it to our kickoff return team. We felt like obviously that big touchdown, but there were some other shorter kicks after that we fielded well, and we did a great job on kickoff return. Offensive lineman of the week was Joe Gressett. Offensive prep players, James Hancock, Trey Davidson, and Cole Thomas. Defensive prep, CJ Bryant, Trey Cole, and Rico Beard. Special teams prep, Chris Parsons and Jerome Jones, and some of those names, again, we're calling multiple times throughout the course of the season, and guys doing a great job being very consistent. Big plays, Stevie Miller with the forced fumble there on the quarterback early in the game, and C.J. Dickerson for the recovery. C.J. Dickerson had a big play on 4th and 2. They threw a swing pass to our sideline, and C.J. had the tackle for loss that got our defense off the field. James Todd for his interception and the touchdown. Cordarian Trice, interception and touchdown. TJ James had a big open field tackle on 3rd down in the 3rd quarter that saved a big play and again got us off the field. The Ty Tevis interception, that was a very timely situation.
Sure
our offense turned the football over. First lost fumble of the year. We were the last team in the country to not lose a fumble. And we unfortunately did that on Saturday, and 3 plays later we come up with an interception. That was a big moment, big play by Ty Tevis. Cameron Dukes to Josh Lewis, first play of the game. A great execution there and taking care of business. Jalen Boyd with the highlight reel. Touchdown catch on the screen.
2,300 views, by the way, on Twitter. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he can jump. He can jump. It was fun. Cameron Dukes to Terrell Cole, at the end of the first half. That was about a 55-yard throw in the air. Great job by Terrell getting in the end zone. And then Stevie Miller had a big hit on that forced fumble early on, and we gave Lou Bunning a big hit. Had a big block on their sideline and got after one of their guys pretty good. A lot of big plays on Saturday. Saturday.
55-21, Lindsey Wilson victorious on Saturday over Thomas More. In addition to that, Jalen Boyd was the Mid-South Conference Special Teams Player of the Week. Cameron Dukes, who threw for over 400 yards for the first time in his career, is the Offensive Player of the Week in the Bluegrass Division as well. So congratulations for those accolades as well. You mentioned Ty Tevis, Cordarian Trice, their very first career interceptions. Joshua Lewis with his first 100-yard receiving game of his career. One of the things I'll mention about Cameron Dukes, who had 400 yards for the first time. I made a comment during the game and want you to react to it just a bit. There was and I can't recall the play. It doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that there was a throw that he threw the ball away on a play where he was getting pressured. And I think I mentioned to Bob, I said, Cameron Dukes last year would have tried to have put that thread the needle. He has grown so much as the quarterback over the last year, and I applaud that growth. I mean, that's important, and I know you guys have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think that his last 3 or 4 games, he's been really taking big steps forward, and not just statistically, but there's so much that goes on that doesn't show up on the stat sheet and stuff like that goes a long way. Stuff like learning when to take contact, when to step out of bounds, when you're scrambling. He has great legs, and he can make a lot of plays with his feet and extending the play, and that can be a big positive, and we've had a lot of positive plays from Cameron in that capacity. But sometimes it can work against you if you have a little bit too much confidence and can get into some bad throws, hang on the ball too late, maybe take a hit here and there that you shouldn't. And he's learning how to make those good decisions. He's learning how to embrace, hey, let's play the next play from time to time, and still put us in the situation. And those guys are doing a great job in the quarterback room, and he's got great competition from Peyton, and those guys study hard and doing a good job. The young guys are working hard at it. It's a fun room, a fun group of guys to coach.
55-21, Lindsey Wilson victorious over Thomas More. Coming up this week, Coach, Pikeville, 5 o'clock Central Time kickoff, so a night game. Kind of odd that we're playing a night game this late in the season, but it's homecoming at Pikeville. It should be a great atmosphere again this week, like we encountered this past week with Thomas More.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. It's obviously a huge game for both schools, and a lot of implications here within the Bluegrass Division, and they're going to be fired up and have a big crowd and back at home for the first time in a couple weeks, and it's going to be a big time atmosphere, I'm sure.
And they receiving votes this week in the national poll, so they're getting some mentions, and again, I'm sure they'll be fired up. And that's a 5 p.m. Central Time kickoff at Pikeville Hamley Athletic Complex. Love for you to make the drive over. It's not a bad drive, about 4 hours, but it should be a great atmosphere on Saturday, and I hope you can be there. If not, you can listen to the audio version right here on the Lindsey Wilson Sports Network beginning at 4:15 with our pregame show. I hope you'll join Bob Boone and myself. That'll do this week's Coach Chris Oliver Show. I want to thank H.T. Fountain. As always, Coach, I'm Chris Wells. This has been the Coach Chris Oliver Show on the Lindsey Wilson Sports Network.